New Year's is here again.
Welcome to the Handyman Pros radio show. Home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros.
Thanks for listening to the Handyman Pros radio show, where our goal is to help save you time, money, and aggravation on your home maintenance and repair. This edition's entitled New Year's is Here Again. To help me explain, it's my old buddy Johnny. Johnny, we're laughing about this
and
New
getting
Year's
older
again, because it just seems like it's like here again, you know.
Boy, isn't that the truth? The older you get, the faster time goes by. They say try to do something different all the time. Learn something different. It slows time down.
Bull.
Whatever, Anybody got tricks out there? Leave a comment.
Yeah,
to
we'd
slow
like
time down.
If I could slow time down, I'd like to know, because man, oh man. Anyway, so what kind of our goal for this show, I think, is just to go over some items that are, new. We're not going to call them resolutions, but things in your maintenance, your home maintenance and repair that you're going to need to do at this time of year, or you should do them on a regular basis. We just happen to put all things in this time of year, kind of like, because that's what you do. It sort of makes sense. So, anything been going on that's exciting this week, Johnny?
Not really. Like I said, I'm just always at this point in time of everything that can go wrong does go wrong.
Yep.
It's been, I don't know. This has been a weird end of the year. Where I'm just bleeding cash, bleeding money for all kinds of things, and it's just
none of them having to do with the holidays, or is it?
And it doesn't have to do with the holidays. It has to do with replacing, HVAC systems, or it's it's like one thing after another. It's like, man,
I said to Johnny,
gotta rob a bank.
He first said this to me earlier when we were discussing the show, and I said, "Oh, it sounds like you're living."
That's one way to think about it.
Yeah, it's just living,
Larry,
and Murphy,
you're more mentally stable than I am.
Yeah, Johnny, they say Murphy was an optimist, right?
Yeah.
So Murphy's law, it can't go wrong. It will go wrong at the worst possible time. That's being optimistic, but it does tend to ring kind of true. It just seems that with things, we always say things come in threes, and we kind of find that to be true. If you think about it, your good news and bad news all kind of comes in threes. So you get, that's my opinion for that.
Or multiples of threes is my case. Good God. So anyways, yeah. So, but another year, we're going to turn it over here, and just, it's unbelievable. Another year of our show coming up. Thanks for everybody's comments. We've been
doing this since September of 2019. It seems like yesterday,
Yeah.
And this is going to be
so Larry and I, we don't make any dough off of this, and we just kind of do it. One of the things that's nice about this for us is that we gain a lot more knowledge doing this.
Yeah.
And we learn from other people, whether they're on, some of our brethren that are out there on YouTube or whatever that we know. And, and I do a lot of study and research and things that, I wouldn't really do other than to bring stuff to the show.
Yeah.
So, I read a lot of boring trade rags and things like that. You never know what you're gonna run across. And whether I use that stuff in a daily thing or not, but it's good.
It's and it's ditto for me as well. It's like some of the stuff that I bring to the show is just because I read a lot, but I look at it and I go, gee, we should do a show on that. That's really kind of something that fits right into the mold,
And that is one of the things is to kind of share out those things. I mean, all the building materials and techniques and things, there's a lot of new ones. It's incredible.
Even the old techniques. If you don't know how to do something, send us an email. We will work on a show for you. We're going to do a show on coming up in the new year on straightening lumber for like decks. But also we decided we're going to morph that into what do you do if you're building a wall and one of the 2x4s is isn't straight. Let's just leave it at that. And with today's building materials and today's lumber, guess what? It isn't going to be straight. You can almost be guaranteed of that.
And we're sitting here just doing these kind of things, have you seen, so then you take it to, the whole other side of the spectrum I can't even get my arms around. Have you seen that they just reopened up Notre Dame?
Yes. And they did that in 5 years.
You hear the story behind that, where they had to bring in these old time craftsmen from all around the world to do that,
because it's lost art.
It's it's an incredible story.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I'm just thinking, holy crap, that is unbelievable work that those guys did.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. Very interesting.
Just when you thought stuff was lost to time, right? That was just it's incredible that people still possess those kind of skills to rebuild something like that.
Yeah.
Anyways, I digress.
Anyway, it's that we digress. But all right, don't forget to like and subscribe our channels, please. It helps everybody else find out, more about learning how to maintain their homes and stuff like that. That's all the stuff that we do. It's how people find us. So if you would please like and subscribe either on YouTube and or on any podcast listening platform that you're listening to. We really appreciate it. All right. A couple of talking points I guess we wanted to decide. We put these things in together. These aren't New Year's resolutions, but they are things that you need to have as your, what do you want to call them, Johnny? Just kind of like things that need to get done, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I would say, I kind of do this. I just actually did it. And that was kind of take stock of what inventory I have.
Yeah. Update your home inventory, right?
For
a lot of reasons.
And I think we've gone through this before with some of the software that's out there for, your cell phones and things like that, or computer, whatever, however you want to do it. I'm kind of the guy. Do it
on paper. That works too.
I'm kind of the systematic guy. I like to stick this stuff in a system somewhere. That's just the way I am. But, I look around and I say, man, I don't know what I got and where sometimes.
That's just
honestly,
my truck, that's just in my truck. Forget the rest of it.
And I was just going to go there because I've got all these boxes and things that I've got, my drywall box, my electrical box, a plumbing box, so on and so forth, and I kind of forget what's in there. And I kind of take stock of that stuff, and however systematized you want to get. And so I know what's in each one of those boxes.
Yeah, and that principle applies to your home as well.
Yeah.
And there's today with cell phones, right? With the ability to take your cell phone and to take lots of either pictures or video, walking around your house and shooting a video of everything in your home and storing that video on a secure server someplace up in the cloud is not a bad idea. And the biggest reason is if something catastrophic were to happen, you have a record of everything that is in your home, because folks, insurance companies are not going to pay unless you can prove it. And so, and the thing is what I think what you don't realize is, and I'm just sitting here as I look forward ahead of my computer here instead of at the camera, I'm just looking at things like there's 2 pictures of my wife and I. There's a metronome. There's a bone sword. There's a duck decoy. These are just little things that if I didn't have a record of this stuff and had some kind of value put on them, which I can put a value on them just by looking at them, but if I don't have a record of this stuff and the insurance company comes through, that's many, 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 many thousands of dollars by the time I go through everything now that I'm not going to get paid on that I could get paid on, right? And it's all for doing what? To run around the house with a video and just go, ship, here's a picture of everything. You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's to that point. You don't know, the obvious things that you look at every day, you forget about. So if anything does catastrophically happen, what kind of, just name me what your stereo components are. If you've got big AV receivers and your TVs and things like that. I mean, I can't. I mean, I'd have to go back and catalog it all. Right. And I couldn't prove it, if I had to. And it goes for all of your items. Yeah. But
and these are the items too that, folks, I hate to say it, but if this stuff happens, it'll nickel and dime you to death. I mean, one time, this goes back a number of years ago, but I was in business. I was setting up new offices, and to set a person up in an office uh, without the computer, was at the time around $5,000. And this was creating cubicles, by the way. This was just a
Oh
cubicle
yeah.
office.
Yeah.
So by the time we put a cubicle up and put a desk in there and filled the desk with hole punches and tape and staples and this and that and the next thing, it was a $5,000 bill. I almost fell out of my chair when I got done with that one. I was like, holy smokes. And like, if I were to go through my kitchen cabinets right now and I were to look at, just for example, the cooking knives that we have, there's probably $500 worth of cooking knives there, because we buy better quality cooking knives. This isn't inexpensive stuff.
Yeah.
It's H&K,
Yeah.
nice
I mean, each
quality
one's gonna be
tools.
$100.
$100 a piece, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. And I need a way to document that stuff, because, oh yeah, sure you have those knives. Yeah, sure you did, right? Yeah. Well, I do, and so anyway, you need, it's time. You got to do it every once in a while, right? You got to do it whether you want to or not, because bad things happen. If somebody came in, even if you had, like, say you had somebody come in and break into your home and just steal stuff, you got to know what they
Yeah, you got
actually
to know what you
stole.
got. So, so along with that, I kind of take stock in what I have now. I tell you the other thing from a New Year's thing, I'm going to start to, I get into one of these modes where I start to reorganize all my stuff again. So I am going through it now. This is for this is for my business.
No, I know.
So I go through all that, and I clean up everything as much as I can.
Yep.
Put it back, and just kind of refresh myself of what I've gotten, where it is. So I know where it's at. But
I take every box out of my truck, which is no small. This is almost a full day job. Take every box out of my truck, set it down, open it up, put everything back where it technically belongs.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, there's the painting box where occasionally plumbing gets put in there. There's the electrical box where plumbing gets put in there. There's the plumbing where electrical gets put in there every once in a while. And put everything where it goes. I generally keep it as a mental note as to whether or not I have it. I don't organize it past that because it's too much work. But I do put things back in their respective boxes, as it were. And that's, in my truck, is a pretty big job, but it's worthwhile.
Yeah. No doubt. And it helps me when I do my next jobs and things.
Yes.
And and then you're like always scrambling around, and you're just putting, like you just said, if you're scrambling around, you just want to leave the job site at some point, you're cleaning up all your stuff and you try to do the best you can, but there's always the little things. It's like, okay, I just put it in this box.
Yeah, just put it in this box. Exactly,
and I got to go,
it's exactly how it happens. I forgot this
crazy.
One electrical box, and the electrical box is under the plumbing box, and I don't feel like lifting up the lid. And so I'm throwing it here in this other box. That's how it happens.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's exactly what happens. I'm going through it right now. So, hey, it's just part of the gig, so, and then, it's planning for the upcoming year.
Yeah. And then we get up. So then there's, hopefully you have a repair list for all the things you've been doing in your home, or a home journal. We've talked about home journals before, but when you do repairs in your home in particular, particularly major, not even necessarily major repairs, but if you do something like, let's just say your washing machine goes out, right? Just as an FYI, we have a home journal, and in that, it's just a spreadsheet. It's a simple spreadsheet, but we have this spreadsheet, and it says, washing machine, and we have the date that we bought it. And why do we do that? Well, because you get to a point with your, when it quits, it's not if it quits, it's when it quits. When it quits, I like to know, like, is it worth repairing this thing or not? Number one. And B, how long have I had this thing? Because I don't remember that stuff.
That's a great point, because, like 5 years can go by like that. And be like, man, I've had that thing for, it's been 10 years now.
Yeah. And you think it's new.
I know. It's exactly right.
Not, right. Yeah. And so I just like to say, and then you look at it and you go, oh, it's 7 years old, so do I put $300 into a 7-year-old piece, or do I add an additional $300 and buy a new piece? Kind of, it's there. You get into all of that sort of thing. And then can I do it myself, or do I, or, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, right? There's a whole decision tree that goes
Yes.
along with that. But it starts with having this home journal or a repair list or whatever you want to call it. And it doesn't matter what you've done. If you've done anything that's just like, I don't know, you changed out a couple of outlets just because. Maybe you changed them to new, USB outlets or something like that. Well, write that stuff down. Then when you did it, and like, oh, that's, it's 6, 7 years old. Because you do. It goes, Johnny, what's the name of this show? New Year's is here again.
Right.
Like, it's like, oh my God, like I can't even believe it's December at this point. I'm like, man, what happened? Anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
I digress. Yeah. But so have some kind of a home journal where you're making notes in it as far as what you've done and when you've done it. Did you pressure wash your driveway this year? Well, mark it down, write it down, or put it into a spreadsheet, or put it into Johnny's. We've talked about these before, but there's all kinds of programs out there, and you can look them up online. I think Upkept is one of them. What's the other one we use, Johnny? There's another one. Anyway,
I use this one for home contents. That's just, for logging all my inventory and stuff like that. But you can use all kinds of little systems.
The
benefit to this is some of the smaller stuff you're not going to do, but some of the bigger stuff you should do, just so that you know that you got it done. I tell you what, anytime especially with my car, anytime that I'm repairing it or I have it repaired, I'm scanning in all the invoices and I'm keeping them in one spot.
Yeah.
And I know exactly what I had to get done and when it got done and how much it cost, and all that kind of stuff. And I do the stuff, same thing with some of the major repairs here
in the home. And I do the same thing with automotive, largely because it's a business expense, but still I do it because I like to know, and it's
absolutely.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no. I was just going to say, that's exactly. It's great to be able to look back on what's transpired in terms of all these major these assets that you have.
Yeah,
it's nice to know those kind of things.
And the other advantage is that it helps you identify recurring problems where maybe you haven't gotten to the root cause, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like that to me happens a lot with equipment for whatever reason. I don't know. I tend to find that more in equipment, but you have this problem and then the problem comes up again in a relatively short order, and you realize, oh, it's not because of this, it's because of that. The problem is because this piece is actually wearing out. If I replace that piece, this piece won't wear out, right? Yeah. So but I identify it because I'm seeing this initial problem happen in an untimely fashion, if you want to call it that. If a belt breaks on a car, for example, and you put a new one on and it breaks a month later, you're like, something's not right. Something else is going on here. It's not the belt, probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
But and I would say, kind of, as you now that you got a little downtime in the turn of the year here, for all you guys just getting started in this business or whatever, now's the time to get set up for this coming year too.
Yeah,
get your accounting systems in order, get all those kind of things happening. Now's the time to take stock and all that, so that you're ready to rock and roll, and you stay organized.
Because it's critical.
Might as well take it, the advantage of this time to reflect on what went right last year, what went wrong, what would you change, how can you make life a little easier, how can you make a little bit more money, streamline things, increase your profit margins and things like that.
Yeah, which brings us to the last point, which is plan for your upcoming year, right? So all of those things that you're talking about on the business side there also apply to your home. So if you want to do some projects this year on your home, or you're planning on selling your home, or any number of a million different things, invest a little mental capital now and just put it into a rough plan. It doesn't have to be perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but gosh, there's all kinds of things that go into it. Like, for example, I'm building this shed. I've been building this shed for a long time. Like, it's because it's not a high priority for me. it's not really a shed. I should rephrase that. It's a 2-story building at this point. It's gotten a little out of hand because Larry went a little overboard and said, well, you got the extra
you
lumber
did.
and you might as well do it now, kind of thing. But anyway, be that as it may, it's turned into, it's been a long-term project, but I've been planning for this for really about 2 years, I guess, at this point. And I finally pulled the trigger and started doing it. And I'm still doing it. I'm on, I think, month 6 or 7 right now, whatever, doesn't matter, because it's not critical. But I had to set aside money. I had to set aside time. I had to, set aside for a bunch of different things. It's always more involved than one wants to think. And so when you put a little mental capital behind it now, at least there's no shocks to it, right? It's not like, oh, crap, like, ugh.
Yeah. One of the, along those lines, I think we've mentioned this before, is that, if you budget for these kind of things and you plan for them, then you don't feel bad about, hey, it's got to get done.
Right.
And if I have to spend, if I have to spend this kind of money, hey, I already planned for it. I'm not even going to think twice about it now. I just need the proper things to do, I got the money, I've allocated the money. Let's get going. Well,
and in a corollary to this, one of the other things that one should do is and this is just kind of an associated thing, but it might be time for you, for a good action item for you to do, is to we have from the National Association of Home Builders, there's a report. It's a 53-page long piece of document that if you want it, please send us an email, questions at Handyman Pros Radio Show, and I will forward you the document. But it is the life expectancy of all the components of your home. And it's very comprehensive, obviously, because it's 53 pages long. Might be time to review some of those items just so that you have an idea from a planning standpoint. If you want to know how long does your washer average live, it will tell you that. If you want to know how long your concrete lasts, it will tell you that. And yes, concrete has an expiration date, folks, believe it or not. Same thing with it covers everything in your home. And it just helps you, like, it takes the shock out of some of the system. John, you just had your HVAC system replaced, and while you were shocked by the price, you weren't surprised that you needed to do it, right?
Are you talking to me?
Yes. Yes, that was from you. He's still in shock, folks.
I just woke up from the nightmare. Here's the way that goes. Here's the way that went down. Okay. First of all, the furnace, the furnace stopped functioning properly. So here I am, Mr. Fix It. I'm down there and I'm like, yeah, I can take this apart again and probably get it. But wait a minute. What am I doing? Why am I doing this? So to your point about the budgeting and everything, I got close to 30 years out of the old one. And, I said, I got my money's worth out of the last one. It's time.
Homebuilders thing I'm talking about, that's 2/3 more longer than it. I mean, you got a full third extra out of that deal. Just letting you know.
So, I stepped up and I had my choices, obviously, of what to get and so on and so forth. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to buy, he asked the right question, which is, are you selling the house? Are you going to be here for a while? And I said, they're going to toe tag me coming out of here. So I'm going to buy a really decent system. Probably not the top of the line, but I spent the money for it. And, hey, these things are pretty sophisticated these days. So yeah. I've got my eyes on this thing, but that's where it landed. Okay. I said, I had to be honest with myself. I'm like, I can't milk another year out of this. I just can't.
You could have, but the question is why.
Here's the problem. The hot days aren't as dangerous as the cold days.
Correct.
And it's one of those things. What if I get myself into a situation where now I'm really at the mercy of everything, the HVAC gods, because when you're, like we say, in the summer or during decent weather is the time probably to, if you're going to replace a unit, to do it when the guys aren't scrambling and doing all these emergencies. So I said, okay, that's it.
Because back to Murphy's Law, we've mentioned Murphy's Law.
That's my point.
If it can go wrong, it will go wrong at the worst possible time.
Yeah.
And I do want to just make a comment on your statement about cold is more dangerous than hot. And we do need to have you understand that cold weather is, even here in Atlanta, is much more dangerous than hot weather. And I know there'll be people out there and you're welcome to send me an email, but let me explain my point from my perspective. Cold weather is dangerous to your home in the sense that if you freeze pipes and things, it causes additional problems where your pipes don't burst because they get hot, they burst because they freeze. And so from a home standpoint, your home does not like cold weather. As if you have to leave it fallow, meaning if your house is empty, cold weather is worse for it than hot weather. Now, neither are good, and I get that part, and everybody can make the case, but cold weather is, John and I both grew up in cold climates. Trust me, I always consider cold weather to be much more deadly than hot weather, much more. To me, to the people that I know.
Well, I mean, the hot weather is going to be uncomfortable, but you'll survive unless something, but you don't want to be in freezing cold weather if it's 20 degrees, I mean, then you're you're really screwed. So, and to that point, so again, back to this show, is that, you want to plan for this kind of stuff, just because I will tell you that, even here in Atlanta, we went through a cold snap, and that's when my furnace went out.
Yep.
And I had to be, we had electric heaters. I got 2 fireplaces and so on and so forth. They were going, and it was still a little, it was get pretty sporty in the morning. So,
Sporty.
Yeah, I mean, it was, it's, so you just kind of, I'm like, I'm not going to, after all this time, I'm not going to chance this thing. The whole thing's got to go. So, when they come in, it's kind of funny. I'll just say this and I'll end it. Is that they come in and they go, holy mackerel, that's one of those old natural draft furnaces.
So I was going to ask you, have you seen any advantages to your new furnace yet or not?
Yeah, I have. It's not like yours where it's like a 95%, because I didn't want they'd have to go through concrete and everything else to for the exhaust, and then the PVC. So, it's a 2-stage furnace. And so it's just, it builds an algorithm.
Yeah.
And it says, if the outdoor temperature is this, it knows that, and it's the indoor temperature is that, and it's saying, hey, I'm going to do the stage 1 just to get it up to temperature. If it's not coming up fast enough, I'll kick in the blower and it'll blow harder, and I'll add more gas to it, since it's a gas furnace.
Yep. And
so hopefully that saves some electricity and energy type of savings. And then on the AC side, it's a 5-stage unit. So,
oh wow,
we'll see.
Mine is not a 95%, by the way. I don't think, anyway. If
well,
it is,
but it's got condensate, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So it's a higher efficiency than mine. Did they have to go through the wall?
I don't think they did.
Is it PVC that the flue?
I think it was already there, actually.
Okay. So, anyways, be that as it may, it was pretty. I said, "How much was that?"
So,
yeah. There goes the seat, the leather off the seat. So, anyways, everything's cool. But back to the show point is that you need to plan for these things. I know these things can catch you, but it was a realization that I knew this thing. And guess what? I've got another identical unit in the attic.
Oh, joy of joys, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
So,
yeah.
Woo-hoo.
Well, I always like to tell this story, and this came from a guy. I'm working on a guy's house, and he comes in and he's a diehard New Yorker, right? Lived in New York City, lived in an apartment in New York City his whole life, and I get into his house, and his faucet is dripping, and it's not working right, right? Just his regular faucet, you know. And I look at it, and I tell him, I go, well, you know, we can fix this faucet or not, but you probably should replace it. And he looks at me, and I kid you not, he says to me, he goes, faucets need to be replaced? And I said, yes. He goes, when I lived in New York, I just called the super. And I said, well, you can call the super now. What's your number?
Right.
He's like, yeah, I'm the super.
Right.
I'm like, yes.
Right.
And so I was kind of like, well,
you know, and that's another point to the show is that folks, you know, you might be looking around saying, you know, I've got old stuff here, and you know, now's the time to be getting a little realistic. Even if you're not going to budget, you may do, you know, join me in a reality break on some of this stuff.
Right.
And just
right.
mentally get yourself prepared if something,
Yes.
you know, that's basically what, you know, once you're over the shock of it and everything, it's like, I'm still not over it, by the way, but I'm going to counseling for it.
So as we said, there's a National Home Builders Association that gives you all of the points of your, home, how long things last in your home, and it's just a guidelines, but at least it gets you kind of prepared, you know.
Yeah. No,
and we also have a graphic of the same thing as well. It's just a picture that shows, you know, it points to all the different things in your home and tells you what it is. It's not as comprehensive as the home builders report, but obviously, but if you want any of those things, send us an email, questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. We'll send them out to you.
Right.
It's just us.
Well, Larry, we're going to close this out. And
Johnny, let's close this out. Johnny, do you think they plan for these things when they're doing these space shots for you, when they're coming to pick you up in the spaceship?
Man, I'll tell you, Elon, boy, he's got some stuff going there. He's probably running into some aliens. I'll tell you, as this show airs, this will probably air right before New Year's. So everybody out there, have a great New Year's, man. I tell you.
And thank you for listening and watching if you're watching, because we really appreciate it.
Good time.
We hope we are beneficial to y'all.
Good time to roll some thoughts back on what happened in 2024. Be thankful for all those kind of good things, and man, look forward to 2025, baby. Woohoo! Yep.
Looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it.
Johnny, take us home, baby.
All right, folks. Have a great New Year's. I hope that we're part of it, and stay safe this week. We'll talk to you soon on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.